All right, welcome to another episode of the Big Blue Report featuring Jonathan Casillas. We are back from our Thanksgiving break, and that guy over there, that's the two-time Super Bowl winning Jonathan Casillas. He's also been a defensive captain of the New York Giants. And our special analyst below, Big Daddy D, Ryan Darlington. I've been waiting to use that nickname on the air for 2.5 weeks.
I've been waiting for you to use it. That's great.
Yeah, he's here. We're talking everything New York Giants football. And boys, we have not talked since the Lions game, before the Lions game, and obviously the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving. And not is that what they say? Not the finest hours for the New York Football Giants. The last two games, sort of on a 2-game skid right now, heading into a game on Sunday against a very hot Washington Commanders team.
Watch it.
Now the angry tweets and the activate groups are now going to boycott the podcast because I said Washington Redskins. I apologize to all the Native Americans who have listened to the show. With all that being said, the Commanders are hot coming in, and they're doing it without Carson Wentz. And, we were texting each other a little bit during the last 2 weeks. And, JC, you texted to us, you don't see the Giants winning a lot more games. And the more I sort of really look back at the last 2 games, and I sort of just really took a sobering look at this team, I sort of agree with you. I don't know if they're going to win many more games. And Ryan made a great point before we started the show that they're getting a lot of guys back, but you need to put points on the board, and you can't run your defense into the ground. And I think that's sort of the way they're going to have to win right now. Is your defense is going to have to really control what the other team is doing, and you can just get whatever points you can out of the offense.
Yeah, 100%. They are hitting the rough patch of the season, which we've alluded to before. We've talked about this before. We knew what was coming on the horizon, and now it's here, and they're stumbling into it. Yes, they're getting healthy, but performance-wise, they haven't performed well basically since, well, even before Houston, but the Houston game was the only real game that they did decent in the last month. And ever since then, they haven't really looked good. Saquon hasn't looked good, which is, I feel like, man, that's tough to say right now when he was the best running back in the league for the first 7-8 weeks of the season. And now it's like, wow, is he hurt? Is something going on, which I don't think it is. But, I don't like that they don't try to force feed him. There's a lot of things that I'm taking a lot of negatives away from these last few games. But then, of course, the most important positive is that they're getting healthy, right? They got Evan Neal coming back. Azudu's coming back. You got Azeez Ojulari coming back. I think Bellinger might be practicing, and he might be coming back, which is huge. Bellinger is a very underrated guy. He's young, but he did a lot of things very early on for the New York Giants this year in the run game, with very serious blocking, solid blocking at that position. Then also in the passing game, adding a couple of receiving touchdowns for Daniel Jones. Now they got those guys back. But with all that being said, this is the rough patch of the season. They got the Commanders twice in the next 3 weeks, and they also got the Philadelphia Eagles in between. And then looking at the Commanders have the Giants, a bye week, and the Giants. I've never heard of that before. I've never seen that happening before, where you play a team twice with a bye week in between, in 3 weeks. I never heard of that. I don't think that is good for the Giants at all.
I guess I have more of an optimistic appraisal of the situation, right? I mean, I know that things have been a little rocky over the course of the last few weeks. And quite frankly, I wasn't all that upset that we didn't have to come on here and talk about the Detroit game, because shit was ugly. But at the end of the day, I think really the fact that not just that we're getting healthy, but where are we getting healthy, right? We're getting healthy on the offensive line. And in every game that I've seen, one of the primary reasons why we can't get Saquon going, why we can't give Daniel enough time to go down the field, is that the offensive line has been like Swiss cheese. It's just been really rough go. We lost Bredesen. We lost Azedu. We lost Neal. We lost Feliciano. We're getting all of those guys back. Mm-hmm. And the last time that we did actually have success on the ground is when we were able to stack 8 in the box. We were able to actually put literally 7 and 8 linemen on the line, almost running a goal line at the 30-yard line, right? And we can do that again now, right? If we know going in that we are a running team and we are going to give ourselves that moniker. If we're going to say, okay, we are the Giants, we are a run first team, that's how we're going to score points. Randy, you were talking about how do you score points? Well, we as an offense, we've made our bread and butter all season with the short pass, the crossing routes, trickery, and running the ball. And so if we're able to come up with a little bit more trickery, I haven't seen much of that from Mike Kafka over the course of the last few weeks. I'd love to see a little bit more of it. If we're allowing Daniel to use his feet, I know he doesn't know how to not take a hit, and that makes me nervous, but we do need his legs as a weapon. And if we're able to get Saquon going by giving him a better run blocking experience, I think we actually have a shot. I think we have a shot against the Commanders. I think we have a pretty good shot against Indianapolis. Not so sure about, we're going to have to see what Philadelphia looks like when we play them for the first time, right? We know what they are. We know they're going to be hard to stop, but I don't know. I think I see us coming out with at least, I'd say 2 or 3 more wins on the season.
And I got to throw something out here too. You're bringing up the point about the offensive line, about giving Daniel more time to throw and Saquon space to run. But the 4 losses that the Giants have, Daniel had thrown the ball more than 31 times.
Right. But what kind of throws was he trying to make?
But
right?
but my thing is, though, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, Ryan. I apologize. I really appreciate I always appreciate you doing here, and I always love the way you're keeping me in line, and especially with my Daniel Jones bashing. I'm not trying to be a Daniel Jones basher.
We're gonna fight.
Oh, shit's gonna get real. I'm gonna take my grills out. We're gonna go. The simple fact of the matter, though, is in the 4 losses, though, Daniel's been throwing the ball for over 30 times. When he's been able to manage the game, when he's been using his feet and obviously getting the running game going, the team has had more success with the less throws that he's made. Now, I'm not, again, the simple fact of the matter is Daniel Jones he just might be a really good game manager and helping facilitate the ball for between Breida and Barkley and finding a Slayton down the field, obviously, because they have a deep threat. Okay, we know they don't have a deep threat. So he's doing a good job of managing the game. Detroit and Dallas both said the same thing. We're going to stop Saquon, and we're going to let Daniel beat us with his arm and his feet. And they haven't been able to do it. And Daniel hasn't been able to do that once this. Actually, he's only been able to throw the ball over 30 times and get 1 win this year, and that was against Carolina. Mm-hmm. Every other time he's been throwing the ball that many times, whether the passes are accurate or not, it hasn't been very successful for the Giants.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I have a thought about that, though. I mean, I'd be interested to go back and watch the games and see how many of those throws he made under duress, right? How many of those times that he dropped back, did he actually have a clean pocket to throw from? Or is he just trying to, escape with his life? Right. And I have the feeling that if you look at it, more often than not, the guy's trying to make something happen with no protection, without a pocket around him.
And also the guys that he's throwing the ball to downfield. I think, the O-line being, a kind of recurring theme in Daniel Jones' career, right? Yeah. But then also that wide receiver position. Like we talked about this before. Slayton, we like him, we do, but he doesn't install fear in no one's defense, and that's a problem. And if he's the top guy and he doesn't make people fearful, then that's a bad thing. You need somebody to threaten you deep. The Giants have not had that all season long, and of course teams have been figured them out, but they were able to kind of be productive even though they pack in the box, because the thought that they can possibly stretch the ball down the field, which the Giants can possibly do, but there's not a real threat. Right. It's like, even if Jones is protected, who is he throwing the ball to on a consistent basis, right? Yep. Yes, you have Slayton, and Slayton is a big play guy. He can catch a big play touchdown. He can also catch something shallow and take it to the house. But still, with all that being said, he doesn't install fear. I'm not fearful of him if I'm a defensive coordinator, if I'm a linebacker, if I'm a safety. He doesn't install fear in the teams. Who does? Saquon. But when you have a guy like Saquon, you can put 8 to 10 guys in the box and then say, hey, how you like us now? Because it's not one-on-one tackles anymore. It's 1 or 2 guys that are free on defense every single play, let alone the guys that are actually getting off blocks where the play is hitting. So it definitely handcuffs the Giants, and now you're seeing it play out in fruition because now you're playing teams that are fighting for something in December, which is the Giants have been very outspoken about playing in meaningful games in December, which is what you all want to be playing. But everybody you play, minus the Colts, right, they're playing for the playoffs. And I don't know, the Colts are not out the playoffs quite yet, but maybe when we get there. But every single other team are fighting for their playoff lives. And then you look at the Commanders. When you look at those, you got to give that top wild card spot to the Cowboys. Those other two spots, those are the spots that the Giants and the Commanders are fighting for. It's not going to be 4 teams at the NFC East just because we have the Commanders coming up in the next 3 weeks and also the Eagles. So somebody from the NFC East is out. Not all 4. Right now they saying all 4 is in now. All 4 is not going to make it. And it's basically between the Commanders and the Giants. And both teams, because the Giants are only a half game up, both teams have their futures in their hands because you play that team that's right next to you that can fight for that spot. So you have it in your hands. And the thing is, what's so crazy, Randy, right now, with a little bit of help, the Giants can be they can win a division. With a little bit of help, if they sweep the rest of the games and they sweep the Eagles, they sweep the Commanders, the Giants can win a division with a little bit of help. And that blows my mind right now because they can also not make it to the playoffs.
I was going to say, that's more than a little bit of help, brother. That's
I was about to say, that's like, I don't know if you have any of these over there, but what's in it?
If we do that, we're going to AC,
it's a possibility.
And we're making a night of it.
And the reason why I say that is because no one thought that the Giants would be here. And even sitting at 7-4, losing the last 3 out of 4.
We're playing with house
money. If they
money.
run the table, which, like I said, that's very, very small chance of that happening, but it's still a possibility, which means you're playing meaningful games in December.
And I got to point out one thing too. We were talking about Darius Slayton being the number 1 option. He's only had 1 game where he was targeted double digits, and he hasn't had a 100-yard game receiving this year. He had a 95-yard receiving game against Houston. And he's only got 2 touchdowns for the season. So
I mean,
I know what you're going to say. Obviously, it's by committee. Right now, they're paying $72 million to Kenny Golladay to not be the number 1 option. You know, so
that's not the kind of offense we run. It's just not right. It's small contributions from a lot of people, right?
I know every time we bring up Kenny Golladay and his contract, the 3 of us have to snicker a little bit. But you lose Wan'Dale Robinson.
That's
Richie James got concussed in Seattle. He hasn't looked the same since. When he got that touchdown against Dallas, he made it seem like it was the most strenuous touchdown in the history of touchdowns.
He made a hell of a catch against Dallas, though.
Give him credit.
A little bit of credit for Richie.
I remember on the game on Thursday, he caught a first down, and you saw his legs like flying in the air. I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, he just made that first down look really difficult. Getting those first downs in the NFL, especially on Thanksgiving, really difficult, aren't they, Richie James?
They're hard to come by, especially with this Giants team. Like they're going to be hard to come by, especially with these defenses that the Giants are going to be facing the next 3 weeks.
But what happened to David Sills? He's been
fell off the face of the earth.
These are the types of things too. You're calling up, like you walk into that receiver room, JC, I guarantee you, if you go to the facility tomorrow and walk into the wide receiver room, everyone wears a name tag because there's a different face in there every single week.
Hi, my name is.
My name.
Hello, my name is.
That's right.
Okay. You weren't here yesterday. Well,
they still got the tape on the front of their helmets. Like,
It's like that scene from that movie, Invincible. You spelled my name wrong in my locker. Does it really matter? You're not going to be here too long.
What's the NFL stand for? Not for long?
Not for long. I'm sorry, Ryan, make a point. I apologize.
That's all right. No. It's all good. You know what? We're talking a lot about what we can't do, right? What the glaring issues are. But I think it is important to note that we have added some pieces that if and when they really start fitting into place the way they're supposed to, they can be pretty good. Cager has not been a disappointment as a receiving tight end. We get Bellinger back. We've now got 2 weapons as tight ends from a receiving standpoint. We've got those are 2 guys that linebackers are going to have to pay attention to, which draws that second level in. We've got Hodgins, who is relatively new to the whole thing, but he's a big guy. And
he's been playing very well,
He's been playing very well. And if he can get up the field, right, then now we've got 2 deep threats, right? I think every team that we play is focusing on, and rightfully so, they're focusing on Saquon. Randy, to your point, it's if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us with Daniel Jones, right? But I mean, as fragile as the receiving core has been, I think Daniel's got the ability to make that happen if he's got protection and if he's got somebody to throw it to.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that too. And it's a shame though. Like the Giants just didn't have any money in the offseason.
Yeah.
Like they were very limited about where they can spend their money and what they can do. And I really liked what Dable and the management staff did. They went back to Buffalo and they were picking up guys who were familiar with the offense who can help the guys who they had. And I think that's a very this management staff is whatever's going on the field, JC and Ryan, whatever's going on in the field. And I know that I'm being super critical about a lot of different things. The one thing you're not going to hear me say one negative thing about is the coaching and the front office for how they were able to put this team together and the veterans that they were bringing in to help the younger guys understand what the system is. Win, lose, or draw this season, whether they make the playoffs, whether they win the division, as JC was mentioning. I got to know what he's drinking. I got to have some of that. Whatever happens, the foundation and the culture has been laid out, saying no matter what happens, no matter who you are, whether you're Kansas City, Baltimore, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or whoever you are, if you're going to play the New York Giants, you're going to get 60 minutes of a fight. And I think that is the most important telling part of this season, and that's the real win of the season. We make the playoffs, it's a bonus. Yep. You win 7-8 games this year and miss the playoffs. Hey, the foundation has landed, has been laid out, and now you have to really decide who are your franchise guys. Are Saquon and Daniel the guys you're going to invest the money in, or are you going to go out there and hit free agents, or are you going to maybe even trade them for assets to keep building for the future? But like JC said 2 weeks ago, the front office might be playing for a couple of years from now, but the players are playing for now. And Ryan and I were talking about it there. JC, when you guys had the tough season in 2017, and even in 2015 too, with Coughlin's last year, and knowing on how that season sort of it had a promising start, but sort of spiraled a little bit. How did you guys keep it together in the locker room?
Well, you rely on your leaders. Eli, one of the greatest players to ever come out of the New York Giants organization, who I ran into today. It was good to see him when I was in the facility. It was good to see him and Sean O'Hara. But you rely on your leaders, right? You rely on the guys who's been there before, the guys that's been around for a while, the guys that are working every single day, the guys that are providing for their family and know how to get stuff done. And the thing is, when I look at the Giants, who are those guys? Like maybe you got some guys in the defensive line room being, Leo Williams, but like who else is out there? Jalen Smith has some, experience, but he's new in the locker room. Like you have to figure out all these things, because at the end of the day, there's times of controversy, and that's what the Giants are in right now. And you got to look to guys who stay composed, who stay, true to the game, and really continue to put forth that effort every single day in practice. And they show other guys like, man, if he's still doing it, I got to do it too. And I don't really see it was a plethora of guys for us, for the New York Giants, myself being one of them, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie being one of them, guys like Eli, Zach Diassi, guys that has been around the league with a lot of experience, that are not scared to be vocal and kind of spread that message, right? And I just, like I said, I look at this roster, I don't really see those guys like that. And if they are there, who are they, Randy? I don't really know who they are.
And it's funny too. I walk into the locker room and I go to O'Shea Zimenez, and I go to Darius Slayton, and I go to some of those guys who've been there since 2019, and I ask them, how does it feel to now be on the other side where you're winning games after being around this team losing games? And it's for them. They said it's a great feeling to be there, but they want more. Zimenez was buried under the Joe Judge regime. He didn't play. And you go back, he has a lot of healthy scratches when Joe Judge was here. And he has become a heavy contributor on this team right around the time where his contract is coming up too. They have some decisions to make. We talk about the success of this team, and we talk about how management is solid. JC, there's a lot of contracts coming up. just like you went through in 2017, when you know there's this dramatic shift coming in management, and everyone's a little worried about their jobs. Nothing is given in the NFL.
Yeah, it stands for not for long, right?
Not for long.
Earlier.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's the truth of the matter, and we talked all year, literally all year, about extending Daniel Jones, extending Saquon Barkley. Like, I knew in the back of my head, like, they're not doing anything during the season, especially when the season is so backloaded, with basically the division coming right now. You finished with Dallas on Thanksgiving, which was, a huge game and a huge loss for the Giants. You get swept by the Cowboys again, and having beaten Dak in like the last 9 games that they played against Dak Prescott, which is like, he owns the Giants, man. Like, for real. Like, they haven't beaten them since I was there, or it's been a long time.
Yeah,
it's been a very long time, and I've been retired for a while.
One win since 2016.
Right, and it's been a long time, and now you're going into teams that also have your number. Maybe not the Commanders, but the Eagles do. The Eagles, they hand Giants L's all the time. So my thing is, I don't want to really look too much big picture, Randy. We like to look big picture. Let's look at Washington. Let's look at what the Giants can do to beat this Washington Commander team, football team, whatever team that they're going to be. You know who the guy is that leads them? He's the only guy that can actually win at quarterback, whatever team is playing, which is Taylor Heineke. He's maybe not the greatest of quarterbacks. Yeah, he takes risks, but those guys believe in him. They believe in him. He's buying guys Jordans. He's buying the O-line Jordans and tight ends Jordans.
Oh, there it is.
Let me tell you something.
There it is.
The secret to success.
Let me tell you something. You go do your job, right? You don't expect anything, but like, man, you getting some Jordans, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that give you a little more extra incentive not to play better, but to fight for this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To go fight for this guy, because you're going to try to play your hardest. You're going to try to go out and do the best for yourself, for your family, for your guys around you. But now you might do a little bit extra with this guy that is really going out at bat for you. And that's what I think they have over there in Washington. That's why they're surging the way they are. Yeah, their team is very talented. They got 2 talented running backs. They got one of the better receivers in the NFL, and Terry McLaurin. And their defense is solid. They're getting Chase Young back, which is scary.
I was just about to bring up Chase Young. Oh, man.
So they have this collective, roster that's pretty talented. Now you got a guy who's maybe, let's say he's average quarterback, but because your team is pretty much a solid team around you, and they're playing motivated, they're playing confident, and they're playing with continuity, that's a dangerous team in December. And that's what you're facing right now.
Does it sound at all like a team that we might know of? They have them believing, right? The same belief that the Giants had the first 7 games of the season is what the Commanders are trading in now, right? Maybe he's not the best quarterback in the league, right? But he's somebody that can get the job done, right? And maybe they're not completely stacked all the way around, but it's a hard fighting, gritty team that now has the belief behind them. And I do worry a little bit that maybe our boys have lost a little bit of the belief, having gotten their asses handed to them a couple of times over the last few weeks. That said, if and again, this is another test, not only for the players, but for the coaching staff as well. Are you able to get your guys believing again after they've gotten beat up a couple of times?
And it's funny too, obviously the big acquisition for them was Carson Wentz this year.
Yep.
And Carson you almost feel bad for Carson.
Yeah, you gotta.
Because after everything he went through in Philadelphia. Almost everything that he went through from Philadelphia, he's leading the team. He goes down. Nick Foles takes him to a Super Bowl. The following season, he gets his job back, gets hurt again. Nick Foles almost takes him back to the Super Bowl, and then he loses. And then he goes to the Colts, and they just missed the playoffs by a game. It's poor Carson Wentz. But the one thing that really says to me with Washington is this is a Juan Rivera team. They play gritty on defense. They do what they have to do on offense to succeed. And Chase Young is a monster. And the fact that they're getting him back now, and like JC said, they trust Heineke. They trust him. And You don't need to have a superstar quarterback. You had to have a guy that you believe in and trust. Look, the same thing about the Jets. They don't trust Zach Wilson.
Right. In a lot of ways, it's about respect.
Yeah.
Right. And that, JC, I think this is another thing that you were talking about with the leadership element. Who are you going to follow? Who are you going to kind of get behind as a leader? It's going to be somebody that you respect, either through longevity or ability or fire or whatever it's going to be.
Jordans.
Or Jordans, right? Whatever it takes. But somehow or other, you have to earn the guy's respect. And listen, Ron Rivera is no joke. He knows how to. Yeah. He knows how to make players play. He knows how to get the best out of his folks. He's had a pretty rough run over the course of the last number of years. Yeah. But I mean, he's finally got this team in a position where they're winning games and they're starting to believe. And that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. And not only that too, but JC, you've been a defensive captain for this New York Giants team. That shows a lot of trust in you. And that shows a respect that you're going to lead those guys out to the field of battle and do everything you can, scratch claw, to win. So
yeah, and you spoke about Ron Rivera, but Ron Rivera has coached in the NFL for a very long time. Yeah. He's been a head coach for a very long time. And on the Giants side, you got a really young rookie head coach who, he started off very hot, but Ron Rivera went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, right. Taylor Heineke played a playoff game against Tom Brady.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, these guys have some experience along with talent, and they've been through the fire. They're forged, you know, and that's why I'm like. I said this before, the Commanders months ago, the Commanders aren't as bad as you think. They're not. And I covered a Heineke game against the Giants last year. The guy got talent. He has talent, and he may not be the most talented guy. He's like a gunslinger, though. He's going to go after you. He's not going to be scared to throw the ball downfield. Yeah, he might make some mistakes, but he's the type of quarterback that throw an interception and go ahead and make the tackle. You know, that's the type of guy Taylor Heineke is. You know, and that's a guy that I want to play for him. You know, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to play for Daniel Jones, but I'm just telling you how the morale and the psyche right now of this Commanders team, the reason why they won the 6 of the last 7, and the reason why they're going to come in to New Jersey and they think they're going to beat the crap out of New York Giants. And if the New York Giants don't play their A game, they're going to do so. And what I don't like about the last game that I watched, right? We talked about Saquon, how good he is, right? And how he's like basically the heartbeat of the New York Giants. And everything goes through him when he's on and he's running. The whole team looks better. That's just the truth. He got 11 carries last week. 11.
Yeah.
So this is my thing. Maybe it's not working early, right? But what did the Tennessee Titans do? Tennessee Titans, they force feed Derrick Henry.
Sure, it's body shots.
If he's not getting 7-8 yards a carry, he's only getting 2 or 3. Okay, cool. We're only going to give him 11 in the first half.
Right.
We're going to go back to him in the third.
Sure.
And if he's only getting 2 or 3, they have the confidence that he's going to break one. He's going to break a couple. He's going to start imposing his will. The Giants gave up on Saquon.
So why would they do that though? Why do you think that is? I mean, is it because
I don't know, because they just gave him 35 carries. Yeah. So he showed that he can handle it. And look, I'm hoping after this long extended break, you basically got 2 bye weeks in 3 weeks, right? With the Giants having this extended break after this Thanksgiving game. So you almost got like a mini bye and guys are getting healthy. Please give the ball to Saquon at least 30 times.
Yeah, that's it. And listen, I have to believe, you know, you think about, we're of course we're not in the room, right? We don't know exactly what's going through the coach's head, but I have to believe that the reason you don't give your star running back the ball is because you don't think he's got a line in front of him to protect him. You don't think he's got a line in front of him that can make the holes that he needs to run through. I don't know why they didn't do more sweeps, why they didn't do more screens, you know, counters, that kind of stuff. We didn't see any of it, but I'm a little bit heartened by the fact that I'm sounding like a broken record here, fellas, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm heartened by the fact that we are getting so much of our line back, and it'll be very, very interesting to see if we see more involvement in the run game, given the fact that we've got our guys back. I mean, we taped this thing together with duct tape and bubble gum.
Yep. You put Evan Neal and Bellinger. I'm just speaking about those 2 guys in particular, because when they went down,
huge step up.
The run game basically fell off the face of the earth. You know, besides the Texans game, right? It fell off the face of the earth, and you got one of the guys who, talking about Saquon, and then also Daniel Jones, you throw him in there as well, where, week 6, week 7, the Giants are sitting at 6-1, and they're like, man, the Giants got a rushing 1-2 punch, and Saquon Barkley being the best running back in the league, he was averaging the most yards per game, and then you had Daniel Jones, who was coming off of a 100-yard rushing performance with 2 touchdowns, and then all of a sudden, like, Daniel Jones not running no more. The Giants aren't giving the ball to Saquon.
Dries up.
Daniel Jones is throwing the ball more. It's like, okay, guys, Kafka, I understand early in the season you wanted to mix it up and do different things. But after the bye week, you gave Saquon 35 carries. You gave the team 47 total carries. I thought that was, hey, we're officially a running team. This is what we decided we are. And if you decide that you do that, you stick to it. You don't run the ball. You don't run the ball 11 times with your best player, possibly the best running back in the league. You don't do that. You don't do it.
But I'm going to add one thing here, too. You're talking about Saquon. You look at the losses of the season, Dallas at the Meadowlands, 14 carries. You look at the Seattle game, he only had 20 carries for 53 yards. You look at the Detroit game, 15 carries for 22 yards. The game on Thursday night, 11 carries for 39 yards. The wins, you look at the wins, it's all in the mid to upper 20s.
Yep, I'll take a 20 carry game, and Saquon only has 45 yards. That's like, all right, we tried to give him the ball 20 times. He's only averaging 2 yards a carry. Okay, this is not working. But 11, and he's averaging 3.5.
Yeah,
that means he break a 20-yarder. All of a sudden, he's at 4.5 yards a carry. You know what I mean? Which he's very capable of doing. Saquon ain't lose a step since those 35 carries. He's the same guy. And now he's fresh after the bye. You got some help. Feed the beast. Feed this guy. He's a guy that gets going, and he's playing hard at the end of the games. And he's a guy that Saquon is a big, thick, lower body running back. He runs behind his pads now. Last year, maybe 2 years ago, he was more of a dancer. Remember how Rashad Jennings used to be? Kind of like dancing behind the line a little bit. He ain't doing that no more.
No,
he's a guy that's gonna abuse the run, whoever's trying to stop the run. Lineman, linebacker, safety. And then also he can make you miss, hit you with a stiff arm, and he has breakaway speed. He has the whole package. Please focus on him. Use him. Use him.
And not only that, but then you can also run some different packages and have him and Breida on the field at the same time.
And Brightwell as well. I was pleasantly surprised to see him in there. I mean, that's a third head. It's
and it's highly unlikely that he's coming. But JC, you're familiar with Odell and what the mindset of probably what he's going through right now. Oh, yeah.
That's my guy,
he visited with the Giants today, reportedly, and he's going to meet with Dallas. He's also going to meet with Buffalo. Highly unlikely that I just can't see him coming back here. I think, but man, if the Giants could just get something out of Galladay and maybe something more out of Sills, it helps. It help open Saquon up a little bit, and it makes defenses play a little bit more honestly. And
you got two guys that are legit threats. I say legit threats, not scary, but legit. Galladay, when he was with Detroit, was a legit threat, right? Slayton right now is a threat, not scary, but a threat. But now if you got two guys on each side that can give you something, right? And you got a guy in the backfield who can give you a lot, which is in Saquon. And then you got a big 6'6" tight end that's willing to break his face playing a game of football, come back, and then go ahead and do it again. Mind you, a lot of guys that are coming back have a lot of like lower body injuries that they got to get over. Aziz and even Thibodeau. And I talked about his knee injury. Bellinger has no lower body injury. It's his face. The guy is going to be fresh. He's going to be strong.
He's going to be
angry.
He's going to be
for
angry.
Sure. So I'm trying to be an optimist. I'm a realist though, with a sprinkle of optimism in there. So I'm definitely going to be an optimistic person right now and say, look, the Giants have the guys right now that they've been waiting on, the guys that they needed to contribute to this team, to this team's success. Yes, they were missing at times through the season, but they have those guys back. Yeah, the guys that are on IR, the guys that are on IR. We're not talking about Sterling. We're not talking about Wandell. The guys are not getting back. Talking about the guys right now. Dory, he's not on IR, is he?
It's not IR, but he's out.
But
for
he's
another
not
few
coming
weeks.
back anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the guys that are kind of on the bubble. Were they active? Were they, those guys? They're all back now. Every single one of those guys are back. So the Giants right now are in an opportune position to go out there and jockey for a great playoff spot. One of those wild card spots that's what the Giants want.
Yes.
That's where they win Super Bowls. When they win the wild card, they get the wild card and they wreak havoc. And they're in position to do that, but they gotta go. First of all, they cannot lose to the Commanders. I don't really say this is a must win,
but
2 times in 3 weeks. Let me tell you something. If the Giants sweep the Commanders, they're in.
Yeah. No, I think 2 wins.
If they get swept by the Commanders, I'm not even talking about the second Philly game. Nope, they're done.
Out. Yep.
Yeah,
Commanders are everything right now.
I think if they split the last 6, they're automatically in. I think
they got to beat the Commanders twice, though.
Yep.
They have to beat them twice.
If you split with the Commanders, you get that win against the Colts, and the Eagles are resting their guys, and you're able to get a win on the last week of the season to get in.
You got to get in front of the Commanders, though, Randy. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the rest of the division, you think Dallas has to be the number 1 wild card, right? And then you look at the conference, the NFC as a whole. You got San Fran, right? Who you got coming out the South? The Bucks.
The Bucks.
Only one team is coming out the South. I don't care who it is. It's only one, right? But the thing is, you got Seattle.
Yeah.
You got Seattle. So Seattle's probably going to have that other spot. I'm telling you, only 3 teams max are coming out of the East, not 4. Right now, it sits 4 teams. The Giants are in right now. Also, the Commanders. One of us is going to be out.
Yeah,
one of us is out.
Right now, the way it's lined up is you have the Eagles, the Vikings, the Niners, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commanders are 7th, and Seattle is there in the 8th spot, and then the Falcons and the Lions are lingering.
So, right now, we control our destiny, right? I mean, we and it's going to be the same thing that we've said all year. It's going to be the game that's in front of you. The first, what we have to take care of is what we have to do is take care of business on Sunday. We've got the Commanders. It's a talented team that's getting hot or that's gotten hot, and we're catching them right in the middle of their hot streak, and we have to shut them down. And we have the capability, I think, with the guys that we've got coming back. JC, to your point, Bellinger's going to be fresh. We've got guys that are itching to get in there and play their game again. I think we have a shot. It's going to be tough, but I think we've got a shot.
We're going to see what this team's really made of.
That's it. This last 6-7 games is going to see.
I'll tell you what, the next 3 weeks will be the most telling.
Yep.
The next 3 weeks, because if the Giants can go 2-3, I'm talking about going 1-1 with Philly.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Going 1-1 the next 2 weeks.
Let's hold on.
Going 1-1 the next 2 weeks. Possibly because you got to win at least one against Washington, and you got to get one against Philly. Like if you don't win both Washington, you got to win one against Philly, and that's how I see the Giants staying in front of Washington, because that is a team.
Yeah,
the Eagles, unless they just lay an egg or shit the bed, they're going to be the number 1 seed, right?
Yep.
Possibly number 2. Either one, they got the division locked. And then the Cowboys right now, who has a 2-game lead over us, they beat us twice. They beat the New York Giants twice. They're going to be the first wild card in. Now you start looking at those other spots. Now you look at who else is close to being a division winner. And the only other team you really have is Seattle. You got Lions being like a dark horse, right? But nobody else really, besides the Commanders. The Commanders literally sit in the way of the Giants' playoff hopes and dreams.
And I will tell you, too, the Commanders' remaining schedule is they have the Giants this week. Then they have a bye week. And then
the Giants again.
And then the Giants again. Then they have the San Francisco 49ers, who's playing, I think, maybe the best football in the NFL right now. They're playing extremely well. They have the Cleveland Browns, and then they finish out the season with the Dallas Cowboys. And so, if the Cowboys are going to be locked in that spot, will they be playing their guys?
Right.
So that's going to be a key factor too. And then, of course, whatever Seattle's doing, Seattle's going to do. We talk about the Giants playing with house money. Seattle's playing with house money this year too.
Sure.
So right now there's a lot more questions than we have answers for.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what makes it fun.
Yeah. Well, that's why you play the games, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
look, JC, I'm not lying to you. When Ryan and I, when the schedule came out back in April, we were sitting at our favorite pizza place.
We did it twice.
We did it twice. We actually went through the Giants schedule twice, and we maybe said 5 to 6 wins.
6 wins was the most we came up with.
Yeah, 6 wins was the most we came up with. And Ryan goes, we have to play the games. He's 100% right. I also want to throw another little fun fact. Believe it or not, Daniel Jones, through his NFL career, he has the most wins for himself against Washington.
Nice. Take that.
So, see? Something positive about Daniel from me. There we go.
Listen, it's a good news day. It's a good news day.
JC, I always like to finish things out, besides our predictions, with you giving us a great story. And I think I got mine for this week from you, hopefully. You had a huge play during your first Super Bowl, the onside kick. You got to give us some background on this. I want to know what Sean Payton said, because that came right after halftime.
Yeah.
Story time.
Yeah. So if anybody knows Sean Payton, he's one for like he's like for an event, he'll build you up, for an event, and he likes to drop it on you, he's like a suspense type of guy, he's a great storyteller, like one of the best ever. I have to do this real quick. I have to give my daughter the phone real quick. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to call her, so I was on mute a second. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. All good.
She's supposed to be in bed.
Busted. I'm really looking forward to Sunday, man. I'm really looking forward to this game.
You should go to the game. The tickets are dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Why not?
I have Tuck, and he could give 2 shits. But I think at the end of the day, it'll be fun to go and just watch, because it's like JC said, that's our season, right? I mean, in a very
and that's
real
why
way.
I think you should go. Do you know how much they are? Look, go download the Game Time app. The tickets are $40. $40. Go to the game, man.
Hey, I'll have to get I'm not getting the $40 seats. I had a panic attack the last time I was up in the 300s.
Sorry, boys.
All good, man.
Okay. So this is how it went. So the play was called ambush, right? We ran this play every single week of the season during practice. And Thomas Morstead, who was the punter, he was a 5th-round draft pick by the Saints. My year, we came out the same year. Good friend of mine. I went to his wedding. Loved the guy to death. I covered all his punts, so
So there's that.
So when he would kick the ball, he would kick it basically on the side, and it would spin like a top, like this. And the ball would go past 10 yards and then come back. In practice, it was like clockwork. The guy had it down to a science. It was amazing. Never seen anything like it. We didn't do it all year. Not one time. So we still practice it every day, even in the playoffs, every day. Coach never said anything like, oh, we're going to run it at a certain time. No, we just practice it all the time. Just like other situations that we did, fake punts. We did all that stuff in practice, right? We do it every single time. I think it was Friday we would do it, right? So we're going back and forth with Peyton Manning and the Colts. We go in at halftime. Peyton busts open the door, said, we're running ambush. Everybody just went crazy. Oh, yeah, especially my crazy ass, because I play special teams. So I'm like, yeah, this is about to happen. It's about to go down. We've been practicing this thing all. It's going to work. It has to work. It's been working all year. So I'm on the backside of the play. I wasn't even supposed to be involved in the play. It was front side. Chris Reese, Roman Harper, the guys that were front side, those are the guys that were supposed to recover the play. And if you watch the play, as the play happens, the ball gets kicked and it gets bounced around. And the ball is like behind Chris Reese's back, who was the guy that was supposed to recover the ball for us. So as the scrummage is happening, it's not a clean recovery. I just run over there from the backside and literally dive into the pile and end up with the ball in my hand. Look at that. I was just on it like I got the ball. So I'm holding the ball with two arms like this on a pile, and people are stepping,
Arms,
people
legs.
are grabbing.
Yeah.
And this is before they had the rule you couldn't pull nobody out the pile. Usama Young got his dreads pulled out the pile. Guys are getting their legs snatched. Like, it was so much going on. It felt like I was down there for like 10 minutes. I don't know how long the real time was, but it felt like I was down there for 10 minutes. It was crazy. And all I kept on hearing was, so Sean Payton he is another level, right? Sean Payton made sure that we kicked the onside towards the Saints sideline. So if there was any issue, every single person on that side that the referees heard was pointing in the direction saying white ball, because we was the visiting team.
Yeah.
White ball. That's all I heard was 100 people saying white ball. But I didn't hear the ref say it.
Oh no.
And as soon as I heard the ref say it, white ball, blew the whistle. All right, get up. That was when I let the ball go, because there was a matter of fact, that's when I knew he had it, but I didn't let the ball go until that last blue glove came off the ball. There was a blue glove on the ball. It might have been Hank Baskets. I don't know. But I had it, and then as soon as that blue glove came off the ball, that's when I let the ball go. Chris Reese, who I love to death, got up with the ball, and it looked like he was the one that recovered it, right? I didn't know what was going on I didn't know like the ramifications of him actually standing up with the ball instead of me standing up with the ball, right? So when time went on, I love Chris Reese. Chris Reese wrote a book about recovering the fumble, and I'm like, bro, you like almost lost it for us, bro. Like, I'm the one that recovered it, bro. But like, look, I love Chris Reese, and if it wasn't for him, it would have not been possible. If it wasn't for me, it would have not been possible. Like, that's just the truth of the matter, But like, I still regret that I didn't get it with that ball. I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but I regret that because the referee was sitting on top of me. Oh, I couldn't really get up. He was sitting on top of me. Like, the ref was sitting on top of me. So I was on the ground like, all right, let it go because the blue glove's off. Chris Reese got it. It's our ball. Perfect. Not knowing that, bro, get up with the ball. This is a monumental picture with you holding the ball like this. Chris Reese has that picture, not me.
I literally just have this mental picture of what can you possibly say in a book when you have nothing to do with the play. Yeah, I came up with the ball, even though JC did everything.
Well, JC handed me the ball, and I came up with it.
And now here's my new book about it.
That's right. You need some royalties, brother. That's
yeah.
A little bit of something.
I hope you got a little bit of royalties off of that.
Something.
My God, that's like sitting awesome. That's like sitting there saying, "Yeah, we're going to start a show, and someone else is going to start taking the credit for it."
So Randy, I know you asked me about that particular play in that Super Bowl. But I'm gonna tell you about a play that no one's ever gonna see because it never really happened. My second Super Bowl, I'm playing against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm playing for the New England Patriots. I didn't play any defense that day, so I'm selling out on special teams. Like, I'm giving it every single thing I got on every single play. We had a design rush on punt block to block the punt, and I've been working my moves all year. Like, I've been. I've beat guys before. I've blocked a couple punts in the league at this point in my career. And when I tell you I beat this guard clean, so clean, and like, I was about to make my second big special teams play in the Super Bowl, and I felt the hand grab the inside of my collar and twist me, and I just fell down. And I got the holding call.
Yeah.
They threw the flag. But, bro, I was clean, Randy.
Would you give him the swim? How'd you get around him?
And I was going to block the punt and score a touchdown. You know why? Because I've been dreaming about it. I've been thinking about it. I've been visualizing it. And it was going to happen. And I got held, Randy. They held me.
But karma,
bastards.
But karma with that whole entire situation was they went for the throw instead of the easy run. Yeah. And you got yourself a ring out of it.
Got myself a second ring, baby. Yeah, man.
So with that being said, it is now prediction time. And guys, I'm off the hook, right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Off the schneid.
We all are. We don't,
ironically enough, we're the only ones that are off the schneid. The Giants are right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I'm very excited. So but I'm going to go last because we'll start with Ryan today. What do we go with this weekend? Where are we going? Since we both have all of us have labeled this the biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Ryan, you're going to start us off. Predictions.
Yeah, I have to continue with my theme of blind optimism. I really do think that the Giants have a shot at this. I really do think that they're going to get some of their swagger back this week. So a little bit of the mojo back. It's going to be another hard-fought battle. It always is. But I see the Giants coming out on top 28-24.
Okay. Look, man, I'm leaning both ways. I know the Giants are underdogs, where they like to be.
Listen.
They thrive in the underdog position. I don't want to. I feel like if I go with the Commanders right now, it's like I gave up on the Giants.
Speak your heart, brother.
So I didn't give up on them yet, though, Ryan. I did not give up on them. I still have faith. Is it as it was when they played the Texans? No. It's not. I watched the last couple of weeks, every single play. I watched it twice. I'm not too confident, but if the guys can come back healthy and the Giants can correct what's been happening the last few weeks, and they are the playoff team that we think they could possibly be, I think they have to win this game.
Yeah.
And I think they can win this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a game where both teams have turnovers.
Yeah.
And the Giants have to win that turnover battle. I think it's going to be somewhere along the lines of a 21-17 type deal, New York Giants.
Go with the Giants. All right.
For me, momentum is such a scary thing. And I think the Giants are looking at this in two different ways. One, they're very angry about the last 2 weeks, and they want to right the ship. I really do think they want to right the ship. But I also look at what Washington has been able to put together, and they're believing in their quarterback. Maybe it's because of the Jordans. Maybe it's because playing well with him. I think it's the Jordans though. That's what I'm going to go with.
You don't see my Jordans, bro?
I see your Jays. I see your Jays. I see your Jays. They have mystic powers, mystical powers. They're there. Both teams have been doing so well defensively. For some reason, though, I'm sorry, I'm a negative Nelly on this. I see more consistency with Washington's offense than the Giants' offense. Again, understand you're missing people on the offensive line and the situation with the wide receivers and Saquon, everything else like that. And now, even though I'm off the hook, like JC sort of said it right. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be an NFC East battle, and Giants have always seem to have the upper hand with Washington compared to the other two teams in the division. I guess for the first time this season, I can honestly say it that I'm probably gonna go with the Giants 23-20.
Wow.
Yeah, and trust me,
All right.
I'm saying 23-20, but that score can just as easily go the other way just because of how this is. I really and I know I've been very negative about Daniel on the show. I really want him to succeed. Because he's a really good guy, and now he is entering the stretch of the season where he can. This is his proving ground. This is where he can earn his contract. This is where he can show that he belongs as a starting quarterback in the NFL and not be a game manager. This is where he can step up and play. And you know what, Saquon Barkley, you got to feed him. You have to feed him the ball because it's like basketball. You always have your number one guy. The number one guy is going to set the tone for everybody else. The last two games, Saquon hasn't been able to set the tone for the Giants.
Yep. We got to hit on all cylinders, right? I mean, if we're going to win, it's got to be firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. And you know what? And I think JC has said it right all season long. Brian, you and I have never been in that locker room as a player, what it's been like to put a helmet on and hit pads. Again, my people handle their contracts. They don't put the pads on. The simple fact of the matter is this team has helped set the tone in New York, and it's got this fan base believing. that fan base is going to be there, and they're going to be in it.
Mhm.
And JC, you were here for some pretty tough times when when you felt it in 2016. When this team is playing, that crowd is rabid.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing like having a New York Giants rabid fan base behind you. And they're going to be there out there on Sunday in the thousands ready to go.
You know what adds to that? The weather, of course, being cold. And you look at some of these storied franchises, you got to throw the Giants in there, you got to throw the Packers in there, you got to throw the Steelers in there.
The Bears.
And I was told this. I went to school in Wisconsin, and a girl I was dating when I was at school, I would ask her, I said, man, it's so cold. Like, you still going out in like with a dress on and it's like 0 degrees? She said, yeah, you got to just drink more. So just expect because it's getting colder outside. I think the liquor is going to be flowing a little bit more and a little bit earlier so you can bear with the cold. And that has, for me, like, I get excited knowing that the fans are going to show up a little bit drunk.
A little bit.
Love that. That's when they just don't care and they're screaming at the top of their lungs, and all they want to see is their team win. Yeah. That is all they want to see. All they want to see. They don't care if they're losing early. They don't care. They just want to see their team win. That is all they want to see.
I got to tell you, there's nothing more entertaining when after the game, win or loss, you walk through that hallway of MetLife Stadium downstairs, and you walk by that little, the police station area there, and you listen to some of those fans tell the reason why they're, like, I remember, I think it was the game you got hurt in 2017 and we lost the 4 receivers. There was a guy screaming out there, yelling at a police officer. He was like, you got to leave me alone. I just lost my receivers. We just lost 5 straight. You don't know what it's like. And I'm sitting there, I'm like,
Randy, my lawyer told me I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah. So I'm just, no, but you listen. I listened to that guy. I was like, first off, I didn't know this guy was part of the team. He's talking about saying he lost his receivers. He lost the 5 straight. But
it means something to him, Randy.
Yeah.
It means something, if, and I always tip my hat off to the fans, because at the end of the day, all of us have done it before, but like, for those that haven't done it, to sit in the 20 degrees, 30-degree weather for 4.5 hours, that's a level of commitment that you have to have on top of paying for tickets, season ticket holders, dealing with the parking, dealing with the traffic in the morning. Like, there's so many things that go into
the other asshole Giants fans.
Right. Yeah. that go into you participating in this event. There's a lot of things that go into it. And then you got to deal with the assholes on the road. This is New Jersey, guys. We're talking about the most disrespectful drivers in the
world. The coldest game I've ever experienced. And this was also a member of the media, but we were so cold. We felt it coming through the glass. 2017, that final game of the season against Washington that Spags was coaching. After McAdoo went down, it was like 30, the stadium felt like it was 30 below. And I just remember, like, 20 minutes before game time, I have the picture still. I took a picture of the stadium, and they're like, well, it's a sold out crowd. I was like, there's maybe 10,000 people here.
Yeah. They may have sold all the seats, but there's not asses in all those seats.
It was rough. But then you rewind just a year before that last Dallas game, it was brick. It was so cold. I think the score was like 10-6 or something like that. But the Giants ended up getting it done.
That was such an exciting game.
It was sold out. It was a lot of people at that game, man. For sure. But they want to see winners, man. And the Giants have the opportunity to after this week, to kind of be in the driver's seat of that, I guess, second wild card spot over the Commanders, because now there'll be a full game and a half above the Commanders.
I would love to talk to the fan base. I think, JC, I know you and I were both talking about getting to the stadium early and being out there with the people. I think I'm going to try that this week. I'm going to go out there a little early, and I want to talk to some of the fan base about how they feel. And, if you ever want to find a real good crowd at MetLife Stadium before a Giant game, just find LPG and he'll
right. There's a lot of stuff going on, man. I went a little early, man. There's so many different things going on in the stadium. You don't realize as a player how big an NFL parking lot is.
Oh God, yeah.
Bro, I parked like someplace and the guys know, like I'm almost like all the way healed up, but at one point I was, severely limping, around, to get around, and I had a scooter at one point. Nice. I remember parking and like I was walking and I'm like, man, I've been walking for like 20 minutes, like just to get to the stadium. And you don't realize how big the stadium is and how much goes on. Because when you're a player, you literally drive and you don't go through the parking lot. You drive on the main streets and you go right in the parking lot A, you park and you walk right in. There's some fans there, but you don't see that there's tens of thousands of people doing stuff in the parking lot. They're drinking, they're smoking, they're grilling, they're having a good time.
Do that walk after 10 beers. Let's see how long it takes
you. You realize you're walking around your area of the parking lot.
You might not get to where you want to go.
Right. You show up at the racetrack.
Who is it? Hey, I did it, Daniel Jones. Oh man.
Yeah. How did I end up at the arena? And it's closed. What the hell?
Damn.
I just go to the mall. With that being said, though, and we did the predictions, and I'm looking forward to the game. I will leave everybody. Game. I'll leave with this with a funny story because I was on the phone with Ryan the whole time the day of the Detroit game. JC, I don't think you know this story. So I had a little bit of a rough weekend, the weekend of the Detroit game. Ryan knows about that. And we were in the city the night before for a concert. We brought the whole family. My wife asked me to hold her keys, and I put her keys in my jacket pocket, and I had my keys in my other pocket. So we get home from the city. We get home like around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up early. I did everything I needed to do to help get the kids squared away so I can be at the game while they're doing their own thing. Head over to the stadium. I'm on the phone with Ryan. We're talking a little bit about the game. We're going in. I do my little Facebook Live thing that I like to do walking into the stadium. And I was getting ready to walk in through security, get ready to scan my credential. And I go in my pocket to grab the credential, pull it on my neck. And I reach in again and look in my left pocket. I had my wife's keys in my pocket.
2 sets of keys.
I had both sets of keys. Now, JC, you know my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know how we got to get everybody along.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that those keys were in my pocket, I dived right back to the car and I drove all the way back out to Mount Olive, and I had Ryan on the phone with me the whole time. And my big debate was, after I dropped the keys off, do I make a mad dash? And we just both said, you know what? It's just too much. The higher powers didn't want me in the stadium for that Detroit game. So that was what happened for Detroit, man.
Bro, put your feet up.
Yeah.
Put your feet up.
You didn't miss much.
Watch the game. That's right. That's right.
Much.
Yeah, but you know
that was a good one to miss.
The thing we were laughing about was, I shut that game off midway through the third quarter. I'm like, it ain't gonna get much better.
You had the option. This time you had the option when you're at home. You can't do that when you're at the stadium.
Yeah, I tried to shut the game off while I'm at the stadium. Nothing really happens though. I go like that. I go like that. Nothing goes. Guys, follow the show on all podcast platforms as well as our social media platforms. JC, what do you think about the idea? Maybe this week we do a little Instagram live from the stadium.
Like before the game?
You can even before the game, hop on there with some fans. You could, just do a live videos. Let everybody know where they can,
Yeah, we could do that. I'll be down to do that. We got to get there early though. We got to get there at the latest 10 o'clock.
Yeah, well, that's the game plan. And then at halftime, maybe you and I will sit next to each other in that little media dining room, and we'll do a quick live video, show everybody that we're live.
I got my little 2-minute segment with Lance Meadow at halftime.
Okay,
so we could do it. We could do it right after. We could do it right after.
We'll find each other. You know what you got to do? You got to come find me. Like, come sit with me because I have a lot of open seats with me. We sit in the first row, so come on down, hang out with us.
Okay,
I promise you'll have a good time.
The big media room. You're right. You're there in the front. That's what you're talking about, the media room.
Yeah,
the press room. The press room.
Like the press box when you're watching the game. Just go straight down. We sit in the front row.
Yeah, I usually watch the first half with Paul Dottino, Me and
Yeah.
Paul's a crazy man the whole game, but I like talking to him.
Yeah.
You know, he gives me some great perspective. I like listening to him. You know, he's very smart. He's very Giants, man. Like, you know,
Oh,
for
God,
me,
yeah.
you know, I'm Giants, you know, but like I played for other franchises, you know, so like I have some type of, you know, affliction
Sure.
towards these teams, you know. Not the Tino. The Tino is 100% Giants, all bleed blue every single day. Like he's like that, and I respect that a lot from him for sure.
He knows every play. I'll be like, do you remember that play back in 2016 against the Patriots? He was like, oh yeah, when Landon dropped it, I was like,
Right. Yep.
before I even got there,
Tino.
like, yeah, he just knows it, and yeah, you like that's how I am with a lot of things too. You know, you just know it. You know, because it means so much to you.
Yep.
You know, and that's when you care about something and you love something that much. You can ask me about Nets basketball, man, back from like, you know, the J Kidd days. You can ask me about a triple double against Phoenix on a Friday night in February. I'll know exactly what his stat line is. It's because you care and you love it, man. That's
For
what
love
it
of the
is.
game.
Yeah,
For the
man.
love of the game. So guys, follow the show on all podcast platforms, social media platforms. That guy right there, JC, he is on Instagram and he is on Twitter. Ryan Darlington, we might expand his social media platforms to one.
I'm on Tinder.
Yeah,
No.
he's on
Ah.
he's on fans only. He doesn't have a page, but he just looks at women. That's what he does.
Well, you know.
That's what we do. I'm on Instagram, Randy BSB, on Twitter, Randy BSB, of course, Back Sports page. And you know, again, JC, thank you for being so gracious with your time and talking football with us. And you know, we look forward to it all week long. And let's go Giants. Let's go Washington and New York. 1 p.m. MetLife Stadium. Be there. Let's go Big Blue.
Big Blue.
Sure. Fellas,
See
have a
everybody.
good night.
See everybody next week.
All right.